Banks are quietly buying altcoins before the Clarity Act, and not many people are talking about it because I think we probably need to keep an eye on this. Because something very interesting is happening in crypto right now. While the public is still waiting for the United States government to pass the Clarity Act, there are signs that some very, very large players may already be positioning themselves. And if that's true, it means something very important. Because when institutions move into the markets, they rarely wait for the headlines. They move before the headline even happens. Now think back to some of the biggest moments in crypto over the last few years. The Bitcoin ETF approval, the Ethereum ETF speculation, and major exchange listings. In almost every case, the biggest price movements didn't happen when the news was announced. They happened before the announcement. So today, I want to break down something that I've been looking at closely. We're going to talk about what the Clarity Act actually is and why institutions may already be positioning themselves, and the 8 altcoins that could be sitting directly in the crosshairs of the institutional money. Because if regulatory clarity is coming to crypto, this could be one of the most important positioning phases we've seen in years.
I am not a financial advisor. This video is based solely on my opinion on what I'm personally doing in this market. I also want to let you know that some of the links below and in the descriptions are affiliate links, meaning I may get a commission, but it will be at no extra cost to you. Please remember that under no circumstances will I ever contact you and ask you for investments. You can confirm all of my real social media handles in the description and also at milkshakematty.com. This content is for educational and entertainment only, and I'm not a financial advisor.
If you're new here, welcome. My name is Milkshake Matty. I'm a crypto analyst and a co-host of the UK Crypto Podcast, where we break down what's really happening in the crypto markets and the wider financial system. On this channel, we look beyond the headlines and focus on the signals that matter. So let's start with the foundations of this story. We need to know what the Clarity Act actually is. For years now, the crypto industry in the United States has been operating in a regulatory grey area. Different regulators have been fighting over who controls what. The SEC says many cryptocurrencies are securities, and the CFTC argues some of them are commodities. And the result of that conflict has been confusion. Some companies don't know what rules they need to follow, and exchanges don't know which regulator they should be working with. And institutions, which manage billions and even trillions of dollars, have largely stayed cautious because they simply cannot deploy huge amounts of capital into an industry where the legal framework isn't clearly defined. This is where the Clarity Act comes in. The goal of the legislation is to finally establish a clear regulatory structure for digital assets in the United States. It would help define which cryptocurrencies are commodities, which are securities, and how different digital asset businesses should operate. And if this passes, it could remove one of the biggest barriers that's held institutional capital back from entering crypto markets in any kind of meaningful way. Yes, I know we've had the ETFs, but in the grand scheme of it, that is a drop in the ocean to what could be flooding in. Because once the rules are clear, institutions can operate with confidence, banks can offer services, funds can allocate capital, and traditional finance can start integrating digital assets into the broader financial system. That's why many people believe regulatory clarity could be one of the next major catalysts for the crypto industry. And I'm one of those people too. So let's look at why institutions may already be positioning. Now here's the really interesting part. The Clarity Act has not passed yet, but expectations around it are growing. And markets tend to move based on expectations, not just confirmed events. Institutional investors are some of the most forward-looking participants in the financial world. They spend enormous resources trying to anticipate what might happen in months or even years before it actually does. So if there's a strong chance that regulatory clarity is coming, institutions will not wait for the final vote. They'll start positioning beforehand. And that is exactly how large capital behaves. They accumulate assets quietly. They build positions gradually. And by the time the public narrative catches up, they're already sitting in their allocations. Now, this doesn't mean every rumor about institutions buying altcoins is true, but it does mean that if regulatory clarity is approaching, certain cryptocurrencies could become particularly attractive, especially those that sit at the intersection of financial infrastructure, payment networks, tokenization, and stablecoin ecosystems, because those are the areas that traditional finance is most interested in. And when you look at the crypto market through that lens, a group of specific assets start to stand out. Let's walk through the 8 cryptocurrencies that many analysts believe could be sitting directly in the path of institutional interest if regulatory clarity does arrive. Now, I want to be very clear. This isn't about saying institutions are definitely buying these today. What this is about is identifying the networks that are most aligned with what institutions are actually trying to build in crypto. And when you look at the market that way, these projects start to make sense. First, we've got Ethereum. Ethereum remains the largest smart contract platform in the world and is effectively the backbone of decentralized finance. It's also the network that hosts the majority of stablecoins and some tokenized assets. When institutions explore blockchain technology, Ethereum is often the starting point because of its enormous ecosystem and developer community. If regulation becomes clearer in the United States, Ethereum could benefit from institutions building financial applications on chain. The second project is Solana. Now, Solana has positioned itself as one of the fastest high-performance blockchains in the industry. Its transaction speed and low fees make it attractive for financial applications that require high throughput. In recent years, Solana has also attracted a growing ecosystem of developers and decentralized finance platforms. For institutions looking at scalable blockchain infrastructure, Solana often appears in that conversation. The third asset is XRP. Now, XRP has been designed specifically for cross-border payments and financial settlements. Ripple, the company behind much of the XRP ecosystem, has spent years working with the banks and financial institutions around the world. Perhaps most importantly, XRP has already gone through one of the most high-profile regulatory battles in crypto history. The legal clarity around its status in the United States has positioned XRP as one of the digital assets that institutions may feel more comfortable interacting with. If regulatory frameworks expand, payment networks like XRP could become increasingly important. The fourth project is Cardano. Now, Cardano focuses heavily on research-driven development and long-term scalability. The network aims to provide a secure platform for decentralized applications, financial services, and digital identity systems. Cardano has been exploring partnerships in areas like government infrastructure and real-world blockchain adoption. Those types of initiatives can attract institutional attention over time. The third, and this is a popular one in my community, I've got to admit, is HBAR. Now, Hedera has been using a different technology called Hashgraph rather than a traditional blockchain. One of the most interesting aspects of Hedera is its governing council, which includes major global corporations. That structure has made Hedera particularly appealing to enterprise users. If institutions want blockchain solutions that feel closer to traditional corporate governance models, networks like Hedera may attract that attention. Another project worth mentioning is Chainlink. Now, Chainlink plays a crucial role in connecting blockchains to real-world data through decentralized oracles. This infrastructure becomes incredibly important when financial systems start integrating with blockchain networks. Tokenized assets, smart contracts, and financial derivatives all rely on accurate external data. Because of that, Chainlink has become the foundational piece of infrastructure across multiple blockchain ecosystems. The seventh asset is Avalanche. Now, Avalanche has been positioning itself as a platform designed for institutional adoption, particularly through its subnet architecture. Subnets allow organizations to create customized blockchain environments tailored to their specific needs. This flexibility has made Avalanche attractive for institutions exploring private or semi-private blockchain networks. And finally, we have Stellar. Now, Stellar focuses on a fast and low-cost cross-border payment, similar to XRP in some ways. The network has already been involved in projects relating to financial inclusion and payment infrastructure. For institutions looking at blockchain solutions for global payments, networks like Stellar continue to remain part of the broader conversation. Now, when you step back and look at that list, you start to see a pattern. Those aren't random altcoins. Most of them fall into a few specific categories: financial infrastructure, payment networks, tokenized platforms, and data and oracle services. And those are exactly the areas where institutions are focusing their attention. Traditional finance isn't particularly interested in the meme coins. What they care about are rails that could power the next generation of financial systems. Before we go any further, a quick word from today's sponsor. Right now, I've got a huge deal running with Tangem for this channel. If you're holding crypto on an exchange and you're trusting that exchange to keep your assets safe, but as we've seen many times in crypto history, exchanges can fail. That's why self-custody is so important. Tangem wallets allow you to store your crypto securely offline, giving you full control over your assets. And right now, Tangem is offering 30% off all the wallets. On top of that, depending on the bundle that you choose, you can also claim up to $20 worth of free Bitcoin. To get that deal, you must use the link in the description or head over to Tangem's website and use the promo code Milkshake Matty, all capitals, no spaces, and use that at checkout. That unlocks the 30% discount plus the free Bitcoin offer. If you're serious about protecting your crypto, a hardware wallet is one of the most important tools that you can own. Now let's zoom out for a moment, because the Clarity Act isn't happening in isolation. As part of a much larger shift taking place across the crypto industry over the last few years, we've seen the approval of Bitcoin ETFs, the approval of Ethereum ETFs, growing institutional custody solutions, and the approval of the XRP ETFs, and increasing interest in tokenized assets. Governments around the world are slowly building regulatory frameworks for digital assets. And every time clarity increases, it lowers the barrier for institutional capital to enter the market. That doesn't mean everything will happen overnight, but it does mean that the infrastructure for institutional adoption is gradually being built. And when that infrastructure is ready, capital can move very quickly. So the big question now becomes this: if regulatory clarity is coming to the United States, will institutions wait for the final vote? Or are they already positioning themselves quietly in the background? Because history shows that when the major regulatory changes happen in financial markets, the biggest players rarely wait for that confirmation. They prepare early. And if that's happening in crypto right now, we could be entering one of the most interesting phases of this market cycle. But I'd love to know what you think. Do you believe the Clarity Act will be a major catalyst in crypto? And which of these altcoins do you think institutions would be most interested in? So let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the signals shaping this crypto market. Also remember, new episodes of the UK Crypto Podcast is out every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. I will also link the playlist at the end of this video so you can watch the podcast straight after this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. And remember this: the strength of the wolf is in the pack.